Fáilte go chun de Tyrone. Tyrone FleadhFest comes to you from Cheoil, the historic hill of the O'Neill which towers above the town of Dungannon, and we hope to bring you a flavour of the music, the songs, the dance and culture that is extremely vibrant in everyday life here in the O'Neill County. We're going to focus on young up-and-coming musicians first. You just heard from Maeve O'Donnell, a fantastic uilleann piper who is a member of Dungannon Comhaltas Units with the O'Neill's March. And now we'll go to a trio who have been playing music together from a very early age, and they are extremely talented and extremely determined as well. Rumour has it that one member of this trio managed to take part in the Ulster Fleadh with a broken wrist, and it was concealed under a jumper. They went on to win the All-Ireland in 2019. From Dromore Comhaltas, this is Megan Teague, Anya McCaffrey and Kieran McKenna.
I chanced to stray down by a shady grove. I little thought I would be caught all in the snares of love. Returning to my dwelling place, a charming maid I spied. She's the blooming flower of Erin's Isle, down by Loch Erin's side. I stood a moment to condole, not knowing what to do. How to address this fair young maid appearing in my view. Says I, my pretty fair maid, will you consent to be my bride? And we'll sail away to a merry quay and leave Loch Erin's side. Her cherry cheeks, her ruby lips, her sweet and comely smile, her raven hair in ringlets rare, she did my heart beguile. You'll have cows and ploughs and horses and all your wonders supplied. If you do agree to come with me and leave Loch Erin's side. If you're a snare of evil that has come for to destroy, may virgins bloom in the afternoon, I pray you'll pass me by. For I've no land nor property, but God to be my guide, and a servant maid will I remain down by Loch Erin's side. If you are poor, do not endure to live in poverty. For I have money plentiful to serve both you and me. And while I have 1 shilling love with you, I will divide, and we'll sail on to a merry quay and leave Loch Erin's side. Now to conclude and finish, and to let the people see, she's mistress of my heart today and all my property. She has servants too at her command, their daily work supplied. She may bless the day she chanced to stray down by Loch Erin's side.
Great singing from Nuala McBride there, a very well-known singer in Trillick and the surrounding area, and has a huge repertoire of songs from the border region between Tyrone and Fermanagh, and the singing tradition has remained extremely strong there, and that is credited to the work of the likes of Charlotte Milligan Fox, who went to Trillick in the early 20th century and collected songs, and then Father Matt Maguire built upon the work that she had done, and that leaves the legacy of very strong traditional singing in the Trillick area. Now we're going to leave singing now on Tyrone FleadhFest and move on to Ceili bands, and the Ceili band tradition is really up and coming within the county of Tyrone. Of course, when we think of Ceili bands, we go right back to Sean Nugent and the Pride of Erin, which was founded in 5 Mile Town back in the 60s, and they had a very unique style and celebrated the music of the Tyrone Fermanagh region. Then in recent years you had the likes of the Torrent Ceili band here in Tyrone as well, headed up by Hughie Hetherington and many more, the late great Hughie Hetherington, I should say. And then in 2018 the Blackwater Ceili band representing Clogher Valley Comhaltas sealed their place in the history books when they won the coveted All-Ireland Ceili band competition, and here's a clip of the immediate response to their win of the All-Ireland.
In Ishikarda, the winning Ceili band for 2018. Blackwater Ceili.
fairies are home again, up in the county Tyrone. Don't you know they had promised to come again when Ireland came into her own? Well, I'll tell you it's so, and it's me ought to know, and it gives me the greatest delight to be able to tell that in yon flowery dell I was out with the fairies last night. Out with the fairies at Fiddle, that's where I was last night, having a bit of a jamboree under the shade of the fairy tree, doing the things that fairies do under the pale moonlight. Out with the Fiddle fairies, that's where I was last night. Boys, but the fairies are far behind in our modern dancing ways. They think that the fiddlers should all be blind as they were in the good old days. And I told them I knew a fiddler or two whose eye might be just slightly dim, but the worst seeing fiddler that I ever knew saw more than was healthy for him.
Out with the fairies in Fiddle, that's the place for me. Jiving around with the fairy queen, tripping it over the fairy green. And I'll tell them at home in the morning when they ask where I was till daylight. Out with the Fiddle fairies, that's where I was last night. So I'm glad that the fairies are home again, and I'm hoping the darlings will stay, and not take a notion to roam again to some country far, far away. For I'd have no excuse to go on the loose, and my chances might not be so bright when I'd start to explain to my wife Liza Dane I was out with the fairies last night. Out with the fairies at Fiddle, that's how I pass the time, keeping the creatures in company. It's neither a sin nor a crime, showing the young ones the samba step, seeing that they do it right. Out with the Fiddle fairies, that's where I was last night.
Cleana Toner and Abby Megan and the Fintan Fairies, which we believe is an Arthur Kearney composition. Arthur Kearney, a well-known composer and singer, of course. We're going to stay with Fintan for the next performance, and there has been a regeneration and emergence of serious talent in Fintan Comhaltas over the last number of years. So here's a showcase of that up-and-coming talent which spans the generation, and this group are going to play the Centenary March, which is a Felix Kearney composition. le Ceoltarí, Comhaltas and Dromore. Dromore Comhaltas bringing out the big guns there with James McCaffrey and Ronan Warnock, Tomas Quinn, Sean Dolan and brothers Connor and John Woods. And we'll stay with Dromore Comhaltas for the next performance on Tyrone FleadhFest. It comes from McGlinn or Catherine Nugent, and she's going to sing a song which was composed by her great uncle Felix Kearney. And in this song, the poet and the song composer reminisces about his youth. This is Catherine McGlinn and her version of Dancing in Glenrowan.
By the turf fire brightly gleaming, I am sitting idly dreaming, for 'tis pleasant to recall again the joys that long have flown. And I find upon reflection that my fondest recollection is the fiddler's lilting music and the dancing in Glenrowan. Every jig and reel I mind them, in my memory I can find them, bringing back the scenes of childhood and the joys that long have flown. Though I'm growing old and weary, still my heart is never dreary. When I dream the dream that brings me back, the dancing in Glenrowan. Now the colleens were the sweetest, and their dancing 'twas the neatest. You wouldn't find their equal in the valleys of Tyrone. While the lads were gay but steady, you could always find them ready with a falcha for the stranger to the dancing in Glenrowan. While sitting here I ponder, still my heart is filled with wonder, how we'd ever leave such pleasures for a world so cold and lone. Though I wish I was returning to begin again life's morning, but dreamland only brings me back the dancing in Glenrowan. Now outside the snow is falling, ever more and more a calling to my memory the long ago, and seems my boyhood new, and my kindest thoughts are going with the breezes that are blowing, for to drop each snowflake gently on the hillside in Glenrowan. Though time for me is advancing, don't I know there are youngsters dancing in some cottage by the glen side, where tonight my thoughts have flown. May the joy that I betide them, and the light of heaven guide them, for Ireland will be Irish while there's dancing in Glenrowan.
Lara Symington from the Cool Island Clonogh Comhaltas branch performing here on the magnificent hill of the O'Neill on Tyrone FleadhFest ná mai agus tá muid go Lord fan Gaelic inis agus tá pobl war Gaelic an seo ag an de heroin agus tá sé ag golóneart gneart. And I'm reliably informed that during the pandemic an awful lot of people here in County Tyrone have started to learn Irish to build up on the couple of focal that they already had. Agus tá an Gaelic aonta láidir is Ceili Cheoil an seo sa chundaí chumaich agus tá Dervla Scalan an seo lum ó Fintna Comhaltas Dervla. Inch tú fan Gaelic I the héalsa agus tú ag fuas níos?
Well, dús baire níl Gaelic bí ag mo hisismóirí. So rinn siad cinniú an táhachtach go má héal agus fortí siad mé a chur hiag Gaelscoil. Hosí mé srúch mar chuid den scoil bhéirle an gcuirtín ach an drothar graduate scoil sin agus mé gáisteach ag rang a trí. So éis deile bhí cinneol mhór le deanaí ag mo hisismóirí an siad a ggóil mé cinneal a scarú ón cheantar agus mé a chur drona Gaelige agus sin an rud a rinn siad agus hosí mé ar scóil am le nua an ómí Gaelscoil na Grant doscail sé agus mé i gáisteach ag rang a trí an sin agus tháinig siad ó is óg an graf bhí agam don Gaelig bhí 100 a dóla mé trí bhan na Gaelige má foidrathe má éireann baige a hanal a rud ní ró rud ar bí agam a méle a bhí 100 agam an Gaelig agus lean siad lá rinn siad a seach níhil leis an oberhála 100 a dhéanamh gan Gaelig agus lean siad a rá hosaí mo dhearafara ar an scoil chumhaid agus tá an táhaín inis tá muid a lig cinneal fuasta inis agus leor muid a le Gaelig an tamar fad sa teach lena chéile. Teig an mami ag stad Gaelig inis agus leor muid lena chéile in Gaelig an tamar fad deanam muid a 100 an Gaelig tá muid a lig cinneal ag obair in airneal na Gaelig a fásta agus tá sin a codúil mhór doing faoi lethar.
So how do you see the Irish language now, you know, in 2021, Dervla? Do you see an awful lot more people coming to the language, for example?
We see it all the time now. I am so lucky. I am studying an Irish degree. I'm studying Irish with music in McGee, and all the time now I'm getting questions from people in my own area about where can they get help with starting to learn Irish. Will Ashner be ar fáil? What services can we avail of through Irish? Even on my last module, and Lynette, we were lucky enough to have you as part of one of our modules to see all the options that are now available to everybody in Irish, be that someone who is starting from scratch, who is starting to learn Irish from the very beginning, maybe someone who did Irish in secondary school, has a wee bit, has an understanding and now wants to develop their skills in the language or passing skills on to the future generations. So it's really lively now here in Tyrone.
The options are all there, really, aren't they?
They're everywhere. We're so lucky.
Yeah. And then could you an Chonahar a Jimmer and Gaelic orta mar orani a yearvla mar to in dachoj the héal got an Gaelic agus an Cheoil. So how much influence has Irish had on say your song choices and the songs you choose to sing?
Bhí Chonahar all war ag an Gaelic na Hairan a dóla mé. Le bheith anraigh hosí mé Cheoil an Gaelic, solar hosí mé a Merle. Hosí mé ag leacu páirt I Fleadh Cheoil nuair a bhí mé níam lena díis. Chur mé isteach ar an Comhaltas Fadog Stein agus ar an Comhaltas Iraniachta agus le bheith anta anraigh. Ní ró mé aonach ar fad, Cheoil mé trasna na donta agus dúircin gró mé aonta gláte gan am ach in dhé sin bhí mé géirí fiosach ar lei sin, bhí mé géirí Iran nua a ólam. Dóla mé ahnrad ó Idirlín ag gan am, ní ró mórin aisna a gine ag an éis sin agus ó hen drastal mé ar cursaí géalteachta, drastal mé ar cardlinne le daoine mór le rá mór in na gailíomh daoine ar an cinneal caighdeán sin agus ó hen tá méid fólam réimse mór lechan Iran in Gaelic agus chumhaid Iran ón cheantar seo. Everybody knows me now for singing Brock a Bray, for singing the likes of Our Own Rebel Hero, all those songs, and if it hadn't been for Irish I wouldn't have been immersed in that in that aspect of the culture, and it's gotten me to where I am now.
Yeah, no, it's really go gurn si go mór leis an cultúr agus le gachród atá agan sí buntlach an cultúr dhearfa gur míle maithagat sa bhéilíonn an seo crocking Cheoil aniu míle buchas.
Gur míle maigh.
Agus Shall Dysa Anish Tyrone FleadhFest. Now for some dancing, and here are some members of Comhaltas.
Johnny, won't you come home soon? The winter is coming and I'm all alone. The candle is burning in my window low, and the wild geese, they are going home. A young man's love is something to behold. First it burns and it soon grows cold. He whisper in the moonlight and your hand he'll hold. Then he'll vanish with the morning dew. Oh, row, my Johnny, won't you come home soon? The winter is coming and I'm all alone. The candle is burning in my window low, and the wild geese, they are going home. You'll be waiting for his footsteps in a lonely room. Listen by the window, he'll be coming soon. Your heart will be breaking by the early dawn, for he's vanished with the morning dew. Oh, row, my Johnny, won't you come home soon? The winter is coming and I'm all alone. The candle is burning in my window low, and the wild geese, they are going home. So come all you young girls who are in your prime. A young man's love is like the rarest wine. When you taste it, it's a golden time, and sweeter than the morning dew. Oh, row, my Johnny, won't you come home soon? The winter is coming and I'm all alone. The candle is burning in my window low, and the wild geese, they are going home.
Una McArdle from Dromore Comhaltas and her version of O Row, my Johnny, Scoith na Haraniachta and Shin O Una. Well, now as we celebrate the vibrant tradition of music within the county of Tyrone as it is today, we'd like to take a pause and remember a man who had a prolific impact on music within the county of Tyrone and much further afield. Artie McGlinn passed away in December 2019. During his life he travelled the world with music. He's credited with breaking the mould on how the guitar is played to accompany traditional music. He played on and produced hundreds of albums. But when he wasn't breaking new ground with music, Artie loved nothing better than to play a few tunes in the local. So as our tribute to Artie McGlinn on this Tyrone FleadhFest, his son Jerome joins Shane McAleer, Eamon McElhone and Paul McGlinchey for a few tunes in McCann's in Omagh.
Thanks, Lynette. We're coming from McCann's Bar in Omagh, a favourite haunt of my father when he was in town. We're going to play a few tunes of his first album. The first one is The Floating Crowbar, the second one is The Star Monster.
An emigrant's memories. As I'm sitting in the evening and I watch the sun go down, my memories come streaming back towards my native Ulster town. And as my vision settles, sure my heart fills up with joy, as in memory I travel back through Core and Derryboy. Past the potteries at Creena, quite contentedly I roam, towards my childhood home Comhaltas in the county of Tyrone. Dungannon Road and Platers Hill, Main Street and Barrack Road, they're all vivid in my memory, though I left them long ago. And though to walk by Old Clonoe, or away over Anaher Hill, or to visit that little chapel on the way to Brackaville. And further on at Rohan, a castle can be seen. 'Twas once known throughout Erin as the stronghold of O'Neill. A few steps on up through Drumray, I encounter Larry's Line. 'Twas a quiet walk for sweethearts in the summer evening fine. I rest a while at Murray's Torn, then towards Brackaville I go, and I take it nice and easy as I wander up Mill Row. As I approach the corner and the pub again I see, my mind goes once more townward past the school and Chestnut Tree. As I amble over Harvey's Bridge and I see St. Patrick's Hall, the concerts and the Ceilis and the card schools I recall. A few steps on down to the square, with its gas lamp standing tall, and my mind with tears do moisten as I see the basin wall. And from that granite resting place my mind does wander still, as I observe that towering edifice known locally as Stewart's Mill. As I wander down the line side past the boats tied up so grand, to take on their goods of coal and grain, take on bricks and pipes and sand, to a quiet spot called Dickey Style, where contentedly I stood, and I watched the Swan majestically glide homeward with her brood. Gorgonas on the Haggin Block, the Glen and Hockey's Row, through Lisnastrain, Mousetown and Kempfer on my ramblings I go. And from these high hills as I slowly gaze, I plainly now can see the big pit up and on her, once a hive of industry. Past Lisdew and down through Derryvale, quite briskly I strode, towards that pristine railway station that stands on the Derry Road. I can see again the platform and the engines hissing steam, and the emigrant in leaving, in each eye a tear did gleam. As I cross once more the railway bridge and the town comes into view, I recall the happy faces that so long ago I knew. I remember well the dances in that wee Hibernian hall. 'Twas an echo on a Sunday night for dancers one and all. And the crowds that formed twice nightly in my mind can clear be seen, outside the cinema at Lineside for to view the silver screen. These thoughts are now but a memory, but they often bring a smile, as I sit in my adopted home far away from Erin's Isle. But please God, if He is gracious and He hears an exile's prayer, He let me see before I die my own Comhaltas Square, to relive again my memory after all my work and toil, and be buried with my loved ones not a mile from Mullaghmoyle.
Sean Campbell from Comhaltas Units reciting one of his own compositions, An Emigrant's Memories, and he was accompanied there by his grandson Michael Coney. And it's lovely to see the tradition being passed on from generation to generation. Speaking of which, a new book has just been published which celebrates Geordie Hannah, the well-known traditional singer from Derry Tresk in County Tyrone, and it's hoped that this book will bring the legend of the man and his songs to a much wider audience. But within County Tyrone, Geordie Hannah has been much revered for many, many years, particularly amongst the younger generation. Brock Braes is a song attributed to Geordie's singing, and this version is performed by Caitlin McCourt of Cullilan Comhaltas.
One night as I lay slumbering in my silent bed alone, some reckless thoughts came into my mind which caused me for to roam, for to leave my native country and the wee girl I do adore. So I thought it fit for to take a trip, strange lands for to explore. The night before I went away, I was walking o'er Braca Hill, when I met my darling upon the road, and her eyes with her tears did fill. Oh, stay at home, dear John, she did say, and do not go away, for I'll have none to comfort me when you are on the sea. Well, I took her by the lily white hand, and I held her both hard and fast, saying adieu to you, my darling, for my ship it lies in Belfast. But if you prove loyal, then I'll prove true, for you know that I'm well inclined. So we kissed, shook hands, we parted, and I left my wee girl behind. Now when we landed in Belfast, sure our ship she was in full sail, and away she went down the loch with a soft and pleasant gale. She was sailing o'er the ocean where the foaming billows roar. So it's thanks be to the heavens above that we landed safe on shore. Now when I landed on Green Dock, sure the people they all gathered round. They said I was a reckless lad come to cut the harvest down. They told me to return home and to never more be seen. So without delay I sailed straight away for Erin's lovely green. Now when Mary heard that her John was home, her heart did beat with joy, saying, come into my arms, for you're my lovely boy. Saying, come into my arms, for you I've thought great long. So let them all say as they will, our wedding it will go on. Now Braca Braes a nice wee place, where nice wee girls live in. You'd swear they were the nightingales when they'd sit down to sing. where the salmon and trout all sport about around Loch Ness verdant shores. So let them all say as they will, you are mine forevermore.
Caitlin McCourt there, and a beautiful version of Braca Braes. And we'll head from Braca on the shores of Loch Ness, west in County Tyrone to the foot of Knockmany Mountain, right down into Clogher Valley now. And Sinead McKenna is with me. We're going to talk about fiddle playing in Tyrone today and in the past as well. Hello Sinead.
Hello Lynette, how are you?
So when you were growing up, you know, how aware were you of the fiddle tradition in County Tyrone and the great players that we've had in the county?
Yep. I suppose when we were younger, we were very lucky to be brought around to different sessions and to the likes of Dunulla, where you would have met the great fiddle player Hughie Hetherington, who sadly passed away, but he was a great influence for a lot of young people. And I suppose he was very encouraging for young fiddle players in the local area. And we were lucky to be blessed with the likes of Breach Harper, Ryan Malloy, Nolly Casey, who's living in Tyrone, and Aidan O'Neill, who's now living in London. And all these different influences have helped to build up a strong connection of fiddle players. And a lot of young people I've just been so encouraged to keep at it.
And you know, you're doing very well with fiddle playing at the minute as well. Sinead, really making a name for yourself within Tyrone, Ulster and right throughout Ireland. You know, how representative do you think that is of you know, Tyrone, that the fiddle playing is still as strong, you know, amongst your generation?
Well, I think we have to give the credit to our teachers and to the brilliant musicians that we have in our own county. Like we have Cathal Hayden and Stephen, who are just known around the globe, and we have Breach. Breach has taught a lot of us young musicians, and she's brought us up, and her influence has just left a great impact on the young people and the fiddle players that we have in the county.
And then when you're playing tunes or you're choosing tunes to play, you know, what do you go to? Do you source them? Are you into composition? You know, what's keeping you going with your fiddle music at the minute?
I suppose listening to different CDs and trying to find tunes that, you know, maybe I haven't heard before, and trying to learn something new, I suppose, is always my way of trying to keep going, and maybe not just to keep myself practicing, I suppose. And we're lucky our parents made us record all our tunes when we were younger, so at least we can go back and listen back if we ever need a refresh moment.
Well, now we're going to hear just exactly how good you are, Sinead. Thanks very much for
thank
that.
you.
Thanks, lovely to see you.
Thank you.
And now Sinead McKenna will join Mickey Kerr, and we'll hear some fiddle music here on the Hill of the O'Neill. continuing the very strong tradition of fiddle playing here in County Tyrone. That was Sinead McKenna and Mickey Kerr from Comhaltas. Now, Sinead is one of the famous McKenna family, a family who plays music, and they're well known within Tyrone and beyond. And Sinead is now going to join 5 of her siblings for a set of tunes, and special mention to James, the concertina player, who has come the whole way from Galway by bus here to the Hill of the O'Neill for this performance. That's dedication for you. Well, that's the sound of the McKennas, one of the many musical families here in the county of Tyrone, and it's great to see them playing here on the Hill of the O'Neill as well. And the McKennas are from the Clare Valley area, so we're going to move up from Clare Valley right through William Cardigan country up to Omagh and Comhaltas, and I'm joined now by Jim McGlinn of Comhaltas. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Lynette.
So Omagh, just like everywhere else, is full of places of cultural significance and interest, Jim, and you want to talk about one place in particular today, and it's a Mass Rock, which is right beside your house.
That's right. Not far from Corridon, Mass Rock I live. Used to be known as Polnalek, and it's on the Pigeon Top. And the Pigeon Top is signposted on the Omagh to Dromore Road. On the Pigeon Top, Corridon and Mass Rock is in a beautiful silent valley, surrounded by hills, heathery hills, where the sentinels used to stand guard when Father Thomas McCowell was saying Mass during the penal times, which ran from Patrick Sarsfield 1695 until Daniel O'Connell in 1839. And Father McCall said Mass there from 1704 right through until his death in 1721. And he's actually buried in the same graveyard as Alice Mulligan. But he was actually given a nickname of Bonnie B, which is yellow soles. And the reason for that was he went through the heather in his bare feet, just like his congregation, said the Mass in his bare feet, and with the heather his feet started to turn yellow. But it's not like nowadays. He actually lived among his congregation. He lived in a town land called Tattisala. And the reason for that was during the penal times there was the price of £20 on a priest's head.
Right, so he was in hiding really amongst
He was in
the
hiding
locals.
among his congregation.
And how has the site changed over the years? You know, you're talking from the late 17th century right up to the present day.
That's right. The site has changed greatly, and I'm delighted to say that it's still in use. And in 1932 there was a small cross added to it, which was the Eucharistic Congress cross. There is a proper altar, which was taken from St Mary's in Craigan. The actual rock that Father McCall said the Mass on has got a lot smaller, because people who were emigrating during the Great Famine in Gortamore were chipping wee bits off the altar and taking it with them to wherever they were going. Should it have been America, Canada, England, Australia, wherever they were actually going. And there's a bigger cross on the site as well. And I have an aunt who's a 94-year-old nun, Convent of Mercy in Ballyshannon. And she noticed that I was in my old clothes one day, and she asked me what I was going to be doing. And I said I was going up to the Mass Rock to paint the cross. And she says, you need to be very careful. It's extremely high, that cross. And I said, well, I think the person on the cross wouldn't let me fall. And she says, I wouldn't trust him. He fell 3 times himself. So coming from a nun.
And do you think that the locals nowadays are aware of the significance of that site at all?
I would say not. You know, not going back right to the times. There's a lot of masses still said on it, but there's no actual history done on it, or there's no signage or anything around it, so they wouldn't be aware of maybe Father McCall. And it's appropriate really that we're talking about him, because this is the year of his 300th death. He died in 1721. So it's nice to be talking about him and to remember him.
But while there might not be signage around the area, the site is remembered in song, and Felix Kearney is the man who wrote about the site of the Mass Rock, and he has a particular song about it.
That's right. Now, Ceili was born just behind the Pigeon Top in a townland called Maharini, and he wrote a beautiful song, The Mass Rock in the Glen. And I'm delighted to say that we have a relative of his here, Shauna Kearney, who's actually going to sing it for us.
We have indeed. You've done my job for me. Thanks very much, Jim. Lovely to talk to you today.
Thank you,
and
Lynette.
indeed now we will hear Shauna Kearney sing that song, The Mass Rock in the Glen.
In a lonely mountain valley in the county of Tyrone lies one of Ireland's hallowed spots, deserted and unknown. But few who write historic tales or wield the poet's pen can say with pride, I knelt beside the Mass Rock in the Glen. I'm proud that I am mountain bred, this is my native place. These mountain glens have always been the stronghold of our race. 'Twas here our fathers earned the right to bear the name of men, when they kept the faith for Ireland by the Mass Rock in the Glen. God bless those same glens that under God preserved for us the Mass. And if the day should come again when Ireland calls for men, she will not find them wanting by the Mass rock in the glen. God bless the glens of Ireland and the Mass rock in the glen.
The Rogers School of Dancing from Omagh dancing us to the end of Tyrone FleadhFest. Thanks to all the branches who contributed and thanks to everyone involved. Agus tesúlagin gur thugmuid blas díobse den Cheoil agus den Oranaíocht agus cultúr a tabeá baithíoch an seo sa chundaigh. We do hope that you have enjoyed the FleadhFest, and we're going to leave you with the Blackwater Ceili Band, and we hope that the next time we meet is in person. Go dtí sin, slán agus bannacht agus Tyrone abú.